Hello, and thank you for accessing this workshop brought to you by the Writing Center Services through University Academic Success Programs at Arizona State University. This workshop will review the process of writing a personal statement. While the content will be presented speaking mainly about writing a personal statement to apply to a school's academic program, many of these tips can be used when writing scholarship essays as well. Have you started drafting your statement yet? It's a scary process, but our goal is to make the process seem less scary by the end of the presentation. When you're applying for an academic program or scholarship, it's probable that a lot of the other applicants will have very similar credentials as yourself. For example, they may also have good grades, internship experience, research experience, etc. That's what makes the personal statement portion of your application so exciting. A personal statement allows you to show your individuality or personality. It allows you to show a pop of color. You don't want to look the same as all the other applicants, and you don't want to be called the gray dogs. A personal statement is called a statement because it allows you to reach out, shake hands, and say who you are. Throughout this presentation, we will use the science to help put you ahead of the pack. In order to make your personal statement as effective as possible, we suggest you appeal to the individual flavor of a program. For instance, each program you apply for will have different focuses and values. You should find a program that truly aligns with your own interests and values, and then play up the commonalities between you and the program you are applying for. Help the committees recognize you as someone who will fit into the culture of the school and the program. So let's practice. Here is an example of a program description for ASU's Law and Sustainability program. These types of descriptions can be usually found on the school's website. This one says that ASU's program on law and sustainability is designed to be a hub for innovative thinking about the laws, regulations, and incentives needed to bring about a more sustainable future. The program is one of the first of its kind in the nation. After reading through a program description, it is a good idea to reread the statement and look for keywords. Listen as I read it again and see if you can identify some possible keywords. ASU's program on law and sustainability is designed to be a hub for innovative thinking about the laws, regulations, and incentives needed to bring about a more sustainable future. This program is one of the first of its kind in the nation. As you can see, the description is all about innovation and the future. Now that you've identified this, what types of experiences do you think you should emphasize in your statement? Your passion for the 25,000-year-old history of engineering production? Of course not. You're going to write about times you innovated or thought up solutions for the future. In contrast, here is the Classics Studies program from Brown University. As I read through the program description, think about what they emphasize and look for those keywords. Faculty and students in the Department of Classical Studies engage with some of the most profound and exciting thinkers and writers of Western tradition. The department offers BA, MA, MAT, and PhD programs in specializations including classical civilization, classics in religion, classics in philosophy, Latin and ancient modern Greek. Undergraduate concentrators have the opportunity to reside in the Classics House, a Bay State Road brownstone. Yes, classics is a key word. This program is about respect for old thoughts that still have application to life today. This guy here is probably 3,000 years old, and the place where they live? Yep, even the residence is old. So what will you write about in your statement for this program? You're more likely to focus on respect for tradition and the exciting new ideas that can be plumbed from the classics. If a program provides you with a specific prompt or set of questions to answer, be sure to answer everything and stay within any designated page or word limit. This is especially important, as it's a good idea and a good opportunity to show that you are paying attention. So put your best foot forward and make sure to follow their directions. Let's look at the example on this slide. For the Master of Science in Community Resources and Development at ASU, applicants must do the following. In the online application process, you will be required to submit a statement of academic and professional goals, approximately 3 pages, single-spaced, submitted online with application. Please explain your educational and professional background, research interest, academic and professional goals, and how this program will fulfill your career goals. Successful statements should make clear why you have chosen to do an MS in Community Resources and Development. Let's briefly review the components you would need to address if this was the program you were going to apply for. It's usually recommended that students list each component separately and brainstorm ideas for each item. Listed out, we need to address academic goals, professional goals, educational background, professional background, research interests, how you think this program will fulfill your career goals, motivations for applying for an MS in Community Resources and Development. If you have specific directions for this statement, follow them. You are blessed. But if not, this slide here shows you a good format. This personal statement organizer was taken from UC Berkeley and Ohio State, and it definitely works. It lets you brainstorm your goals and prior experiences so that you can decide how to best represent that information in your personal statement. Now we're going to talk about opening images. You have one chance to make a first impression, so to get started, you'll want to think about a dominant impression you want to give the admissions committee. You might be wondering, why is Tim Cook here? In September 2014, Apple purchased Beats for $3.2 billion because Cook had a feeling. He said, "It's hard to describe, but you know it when you feel it." That's how he described Beats' human curating streaming. He said, "I feel completely different that when listening to other music streaming competitors. It wasn't the number of song Beats offered listeners, it was how they made people feel listening to those songs." In personal statements, you don't just list events or experiences, aka a mere catalog of songs in the above analogy, that have affected you. Instead, you tell stories to make people feel those events, experiences themselves. So that's your own human curation through the personal statement. Research says that data alone won't persuade people to change. That is, in this context, admit someone to grad school. Data plus context, which is stories, does. So here's an example of an opening image for a personal statement. It says, "I have come across a diverse array of healthcare professionals in my personal and academic experience." Now let's think about that statement as a reader. How moved were you on a scale of 1 to 10? How did the image make you feel? Are you interested? Do you want to know more? What sort of things can you infer about the writer as a potential graduate student? Now let's look at a revised version of that example. At 6 a.m. in the frosty darkness, I was the only one standing outside the Plasma Donation Center with an MCAT book in hand. As my mother has been laid off 6 months prior, I needed the $50, and I needed to brush up on kinematics. Soon, other donors shuffled up, chain-smoking, missing teeth, and dressed in worn-out clothing, too light for the cold. Right away, my fellow donors befriended me. They told me the needles didn't hurt too much, the left line was the right one, and a prepaid debit card would be my payment. An older woman wearing flip-flops and a bandana asked what I was studying. When I told her, she smiled and called me Doc. We were all down on our luck and in desperate need of cash, but the people embraced me. My fellow plasma donors were kind and humane, but at the time, we just couldn't catch a break to better our circumstances. My intimate understanding of what it's like on the fringe of society will help me dispense care and justice as a physician. Now, how did this statement make you feel? Were you moved? Interested? Do you want to know more? You're probably a lot more interested in this person now than you were in the first example. And what sort of things can you infer about the writer as a potential graduate student now? Probably a lot more. You can see the dedication of this student has for their work. And what was the difference between the two examples? Specificity. Let's try another example. I have always wanted to make a difference in my community by studying criminal justice. Not a bad statement, very factual, most likely. But here's the revised version. I grew up in Salinas, California, a city recognized for lettuce, John Steinbeck, and violent crime. The gap between the rich and the poor in Salinas is noticeable, as the poor cannot, for example, pay a bond fee, but the wealthy businessmen meet court demands and pay attorneys to represent them. The environment that I grew up in has given me the strength to pursue my dreams relentlessly and motivated me to contribute to society by earning a criminal justice degree to bring justice and equality to the vulnerable community. Can you see the difference? Again, not only has this person become more real and interesting, but it's easier to infer potential qualities that they will bring into their program of study. Can you see how the student went from a telling opening statement to one that is more descriptive? Scientists have found evidence that reading a strong description or a narrative event can activate different regions in our brain. In an article titled The Neuroscience of Your Brain on Fiction by Anne Murphy-Paul, she explains that words like lavender, cinnamon, and soap, for example, elicit a response not only from the language processing area of our brains, but also those devoted to dealing with smells. As she continues through the article, she proves how work that is written in an engaging manner can evoke emotional responses from the reader. This is something that you want to achieve when you're writing your personal statement. To the committees reading your work, you are like a story on the page, and you want to add enough cinnamon that you come alive as an individual when they are reading. As we've seen, the personal statement's job is to sprinkle enough details into your story to make it memorable and compelling. We're not looking for melodrama, just a bit of detail. There are a couple of different options you may be thinking of using in your opening statements, such as decisions you've made that have led you to this program, learning processes, discoveries, important events that made you want to pursue this field, relationships, or turning points. It's important to be careful when you discuss turning points in your personal statement. Be intentional if writing about a recent hardship. You don't want committees to wonder if you are ready for the rigors of this particular program. If you tell a turning point story, be very specific about how you overcame any hardships and make sure the story is applicable to the reader's understanding of who you are and what you can offer the program. We've spent a lot of time talking about what to do in your personal statement. Let's take a look at some tips of what not to do. Don't preach about the field or a research problem. You don't want to tell the readers what they already know. Remember, this is your opportunity to tell them about you. Make sure you are the focus of your personal statement. And lastly, don't use fancy language without a specific purpose. You don't want your essay to be difficult or confusing to read. Sometimes students try too hard to make their paper sound academic, but all they end up doing is confusing their audience. Simplicity and conciseness can be your friend. Make sure you do start drafting your personal statement early. The earlier you get started, the more time you will have to revise your work. Make sure you ask for feedback on your drafts. It's important to have more than one reader give you feedback. If you're currently an ASU student, you can get this type of feedback from the writing centers. If not, try asking your colleagues or peers. Finally, remember to research the problem or the program for which you are applying. Like we discussed earlier, you can usually find this information on the program's website. Learning about the program's values and faculty will make you seem informed and passionate and help you stand out. Thank you for watching this presentation on writing personal statements. We hope to see you at one of our writing centers soon. To schedule appointments, you can visit one of our writing center's front desks and a staff member will assist you, or you can go to our website at tutoring.asu.edu.